It wasn't the prettiest of homestands, but the Pirates did win more than they lost here at PNC Park this week. And they got to call up one of their top pitching prospects, who I am personally pretty high on. Good morning, and welcome to Offbeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. My name is Alex Stumpf. This is a daily look at your Pittsburgh Pirates. We are here in section 322 at PNC Park. I found a cone that was left behind here. No soldier left behind, so we decided to make him part of today's broadcast. It was April, I'm pretty sure it was April of last year, that I made my first trip to Altoona of the season. And I asked around, who am I not paying attention to? Who is someone that could be an impact player? And I had plenty of people point, Wilber Dotel. Keep an eye on this young man. There's some stuff here. Wilbert Dotel at that time had just added a splitter to his pitch mix. His fastball was trending upwards, getting into the high 90s, had this slider. He would later add a cutter on top of it. And it was like, hey, this is a real pitching prospect. This offseason, his contract was selected. Pirates didn't risk him in the Rule 5 draft, just added him to the roster. And on Sunday, he became a Major League Baseball player. Admittedly, probably a little sooner than what was anticipated. The Pirates bullpen has been taxed a lot. And at the moment, they don't have a bulk guy. Hunter Barco was sent down because he's a starter long-term. They had to stretch him out. Urquidy had not pitched well. He had not warranted a major league spot based off of his performance, so he was optioned down to the minors. Cam Sanders was the first guy called up. He had a rough go on Saturday night. Pirates needed a fresh arm, so it was Wilber Dotel taking Cam Sanders' spot. And I liked what I saw. Even if the first major league batter he faced put one over the fence, it shows some level of poise to come back, to have a good outing, to complete the inning, not have to get the bullpen hot. I mean, Dennis Santana and Gregory Soto have been taxed so much. Mason Montgomery has been taxed. This was about as good as the Pirates could have realistically hoped for from their bullpen on Sunday. Mitch Keller's going to give 7. Isaac Mattson will toss a clean inning. Offense makes it wide enough that you can go to someone like Dotel, and he just takes care of it from there. The vibe I got this offseason was, yeah, he probably could pitch out of the bullpen, but, they do view him as a starter long-term. But, he's a young pitcher. There's always going to be that necessity, potentially of coming up to the majors. You don't want to have to add someone to the roster until you have to at this point. So this was a easy call-up. And I think he still is a starter long-term. Let's see how long a run he gets in the bullpen. But I like the idea of giving him a little taste of the majors. I like the idea of him getting the final outs of a game, something that he had never done before Sunday. I like seeing him hit 100 miles per hour on back-to-back pitches. He admitted post-game, as a starter, it's usually about the second or third inning that I'm pumping 100 miles per hour. He's done it a couple times, but it was to do it, pretty much coming out of the gate. I think that bodes pretty well for a starting pitcher. That's one of the biggest adjustments for a starter going into the bullpen is hey, you've got an inning, maybe 2, rather than 5 or 6. It's not as easy as, you only got 1 inning, throw as hard as you can, just empty the tank. That's easier said than done. And there's an adjustment period there. I think he held that adjustment pretty well. And yeah, he pretty much just threw fastballs. I get that. We only saw, I think, 2 sliders. We didn't see a splitter, which is a pitch I really like. I think it's something that, neutralizes left-handers, something that can play out of the rotation or out of the bullpen, in my opinion. He could have a 3 or 4 pitch mix out of the bullpen as far as I'm concerned, unless he transitions full time into that role. But as it stands right now, this is one of their top prospects. He got called up pretty unexpectedly, came up, didn't look intimidated by the lights. It didn't matter that it was his first time in the majors. It didn't matter that he didn't really have a ton of bullpen experience outside of, like, spring training and stuff like that. It was, let's see what you can do. This is what the opportunity is. Show us what you got. And he did. If I'm going to extrapolate a little bit on him, I wonder, I would guess, this is a guess, don't take this as source, but I'm going to guess he's going to do a little bouncing between the majors and Indy in the early portion of his career. So this isn't like a Connor Griffin, you're up and you stay up unless, really you don't warrant a spot type deal. There'll be a little up down, I imagine. But do they look at him as a starting option in the major leagues not too far from now? If, in knock on wood, the Pirates don't need a starter, in the majors right now, but, is he the guy? Antoine Kelly has struggled in AAA. I really high on his potential moving forward, but, you got to look at the present day right now. I don't think he's major league ready. Hunter Barco is being stretched out. Urquidy would need to be stretched out and hasn't looked that good. I like the idea of Dotel getting a little runway here to show what he can do at the major league level and potentially show that, yeah, I am a viable major league starting pitcher option right now. Because there isn't a ton of depth on this starter side. Like we have talked about, whenever it gets to August, September, I don't know where all these innings are going to come from. Could Wilber Dotel be part of that equation? Could he be part of that guy who comes up and makes a couple starts down the stretch? Because the stuff is there. He's got the fastball that he can ride into high 90s. We saw triple digits. The slider, it's got some good gyro spin. It'll drop. The splitter, I really like that. That's a separator pitch. That's what made him a prospect, at least in my eyes, and kind of around the league, kind of agreeing. I'm not saying that it's, this otherworldly pitch, but it's like, there's the pitch to neutralize left-handers. There's the off-speed offering. Something that he struggled with for most of his major league career, or professional career, up to that point. The cutter, I don't know how viable that is, but, I get a lot of Luis Ortiz vibes from Wilber Dotel. And Luis's controversy notwithstanding, I loved him as a pitcher. I was super high on him as a pitcher. And if it had not been for extenuating circumstances, I thought he could have had himself a really nice, long major league career. Not the point I'm getting at. My point is, I view him as kind of like a Luis 2.0. Of what Luis did well, Wilber Dotel does well also. He doesn't have the sinker, or he doesn't use it as often. If he does have one, to my knowledge, he doesn't have one. But the way he uses the four seam, the way he uses his slider, the way he uses his off-speed stuff, there's a lot of good here. There's enough that I think he might be their best prospect, who's not, a pitching prospect right now whenever Bubba Chandler graduates in the non-Seth Hernandez division. Because Seth Hernandez is looking absolutely disgusting right now. But I think there's a legitimate claim that once Bubba Chandler graduates from the prospect list, gets enough innings, that Wilber Dotel might be the best pitching prospect in this organization. I think he's someone who could contribute in a swingman role, could contribute out of the bullpen, could contribute as a starting pitcher. And this organization needs pitchers like that right now. As good as, the Mike Burrows trade looks right now, no one's knocking that trade right now. Everyone loves what, Brandon Lau is bringing to the team. Mason Montgomery's bringing some good stuff. It was a multi-hit effort for Jake Mangum today. So, nobody's arguing that trade. I don't think anyone's arguing the Johan Oviedo trade. Even if, Garcia is on the IL right now with some back tightness. Just looking at Oviedo, he's in a rough spot right now. Like I really like him as a pitcher and as a dude, but like he's in a tough spot right now. And you kind of look at that from the Pirates standpoint, like, yeah, that was a fine trade. The Pirates came into this offseason knowing that they were going to trade some starting pitching for hitting. Those two trades look really good right now in mid-April of 2026. Obviously, two young pitchers, a lot of runway, to see how those trades work out in the long term, but I don't think anyone's really regretting it right now, with the condition that there was more pitching to come. That there were more guys on the 40-man roster who could make an impact in 2026 and beyond. And I view Wilber Dotel as one of those guys. The Pirates need him to eventually blossom into a starting pitcher. Time will tell there, but, for right now, he's contributing. And that's all they could realistically ask for right now. All they could realistically ask for is like, hey, 9th inning, we've got a 4-run lead. Don't make us sweat. And yeah, the leadoff homer was far from ideal, but you know what? He got through it. 1, 2, 3 after that. You saw him on the mound. He was a little frustrated, but you could almost pretty much see him take like the deep breath, like, okay, let's get back in there. That's going to be the start of my major league career forever. I gave up a home run. But you know what? He's also going to have a game finished. That's what's going to be from his first debut. He struck out his first batter. He finished his first ball game. He threw his first inning. He's got a baseball reference page now. I think there's some upside here for years to come. I don't know how much he's going to contribute in 2026, but the Burrows and Oviedo trades were made with guys like him in mind, that he could be part of that next wave. And if this was the first taste, the first offering of what he has to show, I don't think there's any arguments here. And there's more to come. I'm looking forward to seeing Antoine Kelly at some point this year. I know he's struggling. He'll come up at some point. And there's more, the Christian Curtises in Double-A, and, Seth Hernandez looking like, I don't know if there's anyone in the FCL who's going to hit Seth Hernandez. Like, he might need to get to Greensboro sooner rather than later. Like, he needs the innings, I get it, but, he'll be on a pretty rapid rise. There's some guys here, but you need those guys who are in AAA who can make that jump to the major leagues. Wilber Dotel is the first guy through the door, and he made a good first impression. Let's see what's coming up for him still. Thank you so much for listening to Offbeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe wherever you find a podcast. We're going to be there too. And if you want to see me and in a cone in section 322 eventually, check us out on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk again tomorrow.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in, whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube. If you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.